Last year, the PSC switched to the VDER. That stands for Value of Distributed Energy Resources, and it's a complicated formula, but essentially what it does is it pays the owners of solar panels different amounts depending on when and where the panels produce electricity. My next guests say that's slowing down solar development because it creates financial uncertainty. Instead, they want to return to net metering, which gives panel owners credits for any energy they produce that goes to the public grid. With me now in the studio to break all of this down is Anthony Sakari. He is the owner of the Sun Power by New York State Solar Farm, and with us from New York City is Stephan ROUNDTREE of the New York Energy Democracy Alliance. I want to thank you both for joining me. Welcome.
Thanks for having us, Nick.
So, Anthony, I want to start with you. Just what sort of impact has this been placing on your business in order to kind of expand the way you guys would like to expand if you were to return to net metering?
Yeah, Nick, it's a good question because we're a local business. We have 40 employees full-time working, and we handle everything from the time someone wants to go solar all the way up until the end where solar panels are on their residence or business. And with us, this policy that's in effect right now of the VDER, it's complicated, and we're taking a process of solar that is complicated to start with in going solar, and now we're adding another layer of complexity on top of it, which really just stops it dead in its tracks. And as a business owner or a community solar developer, people want to know and want to have a surety, and it's just there's no predictability in it.
Sure. So, Stephan, if I could just kind of give us a 30,000-foot view of this, what sort of impact is something like this having currently, pardon the pun, I think, when it comes to trying to expand, solar energy as a renewable? Obviously, the state is trying to get to this goal of 50% renewable energy by 2030, and have the regulations, been good enough to, help businesses basically meet that goal?
Well, no, they haven't. There's certainly evidence to suggest they haven't. I'll first say that while I do co-chair the New York State Energy Democracy Alliance, my employer is we act for environmental justice. It's an environmental justice and environmental health non-for-profit located in northern Manhattan. So when we look at these issues, of energy, we're really focusing on equity and how that different people who are differently situated, people of different racial and socioeconomic groups are actually being able to take advantage of solar, and really the 30,000-foot view is if you don't own a roof, if you don't own property, and there are historical reasons why this is the case, why people of color and people of low income disproportionately don't own property, you're unable to take part in renewable energy in any form. So community solar would present the opportunity for folks who don't own a roof to actually benefit from the renewable energy transformation that we're hoping to undergo, headlong in New York State. But like Anthony was saying, that's been somewhat depressed by the fact that community solar is difficult to implement. Because of the regulations. Well,
certainly, and to that point, Anthony, do you ever encounter potential customers who may have the impression, maybe ingrained about 20, 30 years ago that solar energy is too expensive, that it's only for people who own property, that it's only for people who have the means in order to install that, and just what do you tell them that this is something that they can't afford, or that things need to change in order to make it more affordable for consumers?
We get a lot of interest. We have a lot of people that call us up and want to go solar. They see the benefits of saving money on their utility bill, predictable forecasting their rates, and it's actually with the financing that's in place now, you can go solar and not lay money out of pocket for that system, whether it's through a community solar program or it's through them putting solar on their business and using different financing that's available for it. But the problem is it always did work, and we did get the cost down enough on solar for the people to take the benefits of solar. So it always was affordable. The past 10 years, it's been working for business owners, for homeowners, for residents. But now with the VDER that's in place, now it's not affordable. Now we have to take a solar system, let's just say on your home, for example, if you needed 8 kW, now we have to build a 12 kW solar system to offset that same amount of power you would need. So it's adding cost to it, where Governor Cuomo set that goal, hey, we want every 50% renewable energies by 2030. We can't get there with the VEDR that's in place.
So, Stephen, just to go back to you for a second, when you talk about community solar, it does sound like this comes down to an issue of everybody kind of having a stake in all of this. When you talk about kind of a societal shift towards renewable energy, I think a lot of people say, yeah, it's a great idea, but they don't necessarily maybe realize how it's going to impact them or how it should impact them. Is that partially what this is about in terms of kind of reforming how this process works?
Sure. I mean, it's the fight over VEDR it's pretty, it's an elemental sort of discussion about who should benefit from the valuation policy. Is it the utility, or is it the folks who really are disproportionately burdened by bills and need to find a way to pay less money and are going to be hit first and worst with climate impacts? So yeah, it's pretty clear that it really is about making sure everyone's involved. When we talk about the governor's climate goals, they're not going to get met unless everyone is able to participate. If we have a solar market that says, well, hey, if you're a renter, if you have high barriers to entry, you just can't participate, then it's not going to work. If we can't all succeed, then we all fail. And I think that's kind of where the rubber meets the road.
So what needs to be done? Does there need to be some sort of legislative action or regulatory changes? I mean, just what do policymakers and officials in Albany need to do?
Sure. I mean, well, WEAC's position and the New York Energy Democracy Alliance's position is that, somewhere down the road we're willing to work with the state to find a VEDR regime that does work and that properly values solar at a rate that's productive. But at this point, if it's not going to work, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that under net energy metering, solar can flourish and solar will continue to flourish, and community solar can serve people that are hard to serve. And so, yeah, I mean, there's, as you know, there's been legislation that sort of took a stab last session, and we're willing to continue to support it, and also work with the state if they're willing to really listen to what needs to take place to get a VEDR policy that really works for everyone, and that is truly a solution.
Right. And Anthony, just from your standpoint, what would you like to see state lawmakers, state policymakers do in order to kind of make your life easier as a businessman? Yeah,
I mean, I'm from more the boots on the ground standpoint. Out every day, we're going out deploying solar residentially and commercially, and people just want simplicity. If we have to go into a proposal for somebody and it takes a team of my staff, 5 people, to develop that proposal, it's probably not going to be that easily explained to the end user. So just simplicity in the policy to go back to net metering the way it was for community solar, for large-scale solar, and small commercial solar would be the best path for, even if it's for a 3-year span, until we figure out a better solution like that VEDR that they implemented. It came out too quick, and it just didn't work. If everything was perfect, maybe it would have worked, but it just didn't.
Has it slowed the growth of the industry in the state overall? I mean, do you feel like you're in a competitive environment when it comes to the solar energy business?
Residentially, it didn't slow it down because it didn't affect us residentially. I fear it is going to slow it down to a halt residentially once this policy hits in 2020, is going to take effect residentially. Commercially, where this policy did affect, it slowed it down to a snail's pace. There's the industry had momentum, and this kind of took it all out from under us of the VEDR. And it's a lot tougher to get projects financed and push projects through to the end with the way this is set up now.
Stephen, I'm going to end on you. We got a few minutes left, but I just do want to ask you, do you feel like when they were developing these renewable energy regulations and this renewable energy goal, that it was well thought through enough, that they had maybe the headline or the top line information of what they wanted here with this goal, and then some of the blanks were kind of filled in later? Did they have the planning in place in order to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish?
It's a good question and tough for me to answer. I don't think I can speak to the thoroughness of the policy, but what I can tell you is from our standpoint, from WEAC's standpoint, and from the New York State Energy Democracy Alliance's standpoint, whatever the thought process was, it's not aligning with and really being responsive enough to the demands of community groups and folks who are actually experiencing this and need to take part in this economy. So yeah, it's a tough question to answer as far as was it thorough enough. I don't doubt that the DPS and NYSERDA have the reasons for doing what they do and having their pressures for what they do, but yeah, I won't say no more.
Okay, well, we'll have to leave it at that. Stephen, I want to thank you for joining us from New York City.
My pleasure.
Anthony in the studio. I appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.